So there I was, sitting in my command throne aboard the Crimson Talon, watching the pathetic little fleet from Earth limping toward our blockade. And I swear on my grandmother's scales I almost felt sorry for them. Almost. Status report. I barked at Lieutenant Foale, who was practically vibrating with excitement at his console. Sir. 12 vessels detected. Correction. 11.5 vessels. One appears to be held together with welding patches and prayer. Foale's voice cracked with barely suppressed amusement. The bridge erupted in laughter. Even Tactical Officer Morn, who never smiled, cracked what passed for a grin on his three-jawed face. I leaned back, letting the moment wash over me. This was going to be easier than I thought. Magnify the lead ship, I ordered. The view screen flickered, and there it was. Humanity's flagship. The Defiance, they called it, more like the Delusion. The hull was patchwork metal, mismatched panels that screamed of desperate repair jobs, energy signatures, barely registering, weapon ports, I counted maybe 6, on a vessel that should have housed 40. Sir. Foale chimed in again, his translator struggling with his giggling. Their communication arrays are those satellite dishes, from a planetary broadcast network. More laughter. I couldn't help it. 300 cycles of military service, and this was what the mighty humans brought to challenge the Krynn Dominion. We had 17 battlecruisers, each one capable of glassing a small moon. They had 12 rust buckets, and what appeared to be duct tape. Open a channel, I said, straightening my uniform. Let's at least be sporting about this. The screen shifted. A human appeared, female I think. Their genders were still confusing to me. Dark skin, short hair, eyes that held none of the fear I expected. Captain Elena Torres, according to the data scroll. Captain Torres, I began, making sure my tone dripped with the appropriate amount of condescension. I am Admiral Vex'Kara of the Krynn Dominion 4th Fleet. I strongly suggest you turn your vessels around and return to your homeworld. This blockade is non-negotiable. She smiled, actually smiled. Admiral, Torres replied, her voice calm, almost pleasant. We received your ultimatum. We declined. We're here to escort the colony ships through this sector. You're in our way. Our way. Our way. I glanced at Foale, who looked as stunned as I felt. Behind Torres' ship, I could now see the colony vessels. Massive, slow, completely unarmed transports carrying who knows how many civilians. Captain, please understand your situation, I said, fighting to keep my voice level. You have 12 warships. I have 17. Your vessels are, well, let's be honest, they're falling apart. My shields alone could withstand everything you have for a standard rotation. This isn't bravery. It's suicide. Noted, Torres said, still smiling. We'll take our chances. Torres out. The channel closed. Silence filled the bridge. Then Foale spoke up, his voice uncertain. Now, sir, what do we do? What did we do? The humans were insane, clearly. But orders were orders. The Dominion Council had been explicit. No human expansion beyond the outer markers. This was the line. Weapons hot, I commanded. Target their lead ships. Fire a warning shot across their bow. Maybe reality will set in. Our forward plasma batteries charged with that beautiful hum I'd heard 1,000 times. A single bolt lanced out, missing the Defiance by exactly 200 meters. Standard intimidation protocol. The human fleet didn't even flinch. Sir, Morn's voice cut through the tension. They're accelerating toward us. I leaned forward, studying the tactical display. He was right. All 12 human ships were increasing speed, forming into a peculiar formation, not the standard battle wedge, not a defensive sphere, something else. Analysis, I demanded. Unknown formation pattern, Morn reported. It doesn't match any documented human naval doctrine. It's almost like, sir, it's almost like they're hurting us. Hurting us? I laughed, but it sounded hollow even to my own ears. Tactical, light them up, full barrage. Let's end this farce. Every weapon on my ship opened fire simultaneously. Plasma bolts, kinetic rounds, missile pods, everything. The other 16 battlecruisers followed suit. The space between our fleets lit up like a newborn star. And then something impossible happened. The human ships scattered, but not randomly. Each vessel moved with perfect precision, like they'd rehearsed this exact scenario 10,000 times. Our weapons hit empty space or struck glancing blows off angled armor that somehow deflected shots that should have penetrated. "What in the seven hells?" I whispered. "Sir." Energy spike from the Defiance. Foal's voice had lost all traces of amusement. "Massive energy spike. It's off our charts." The patchwork flagship began to glow. Not from damage, from within. And that's when Captain Torres opened a channel again. Her smile now something else entirely. "Admiral Vex'Kara," she said softly. "You should know something about humans. We don't build ships to look pretty. We build them to win. Let me introduce you to the final protocol." The Defiance split open like a flower blooming in fast motion, and what emerged made my blood turn to ice water. Talus. That I thought were repair patches. They were hatches. Dozens of them. Hundreds of them. And from each one came something. Small craft, sleek and dark, pouring out like angry insects from a disturbed hive. "Drones," Morn shouted. "Thousands of drones. How did we not detect them?" "Stealth plating," I breathed, finally understanding. The entire hull was a disguise. Those satellite dishes were never communication arrays. They were launch guidance systems. Full finished, his voice barely a whisper. The swarm moved. Not chaotically. Not randomly. With absolute precision. Each drone knew exactly where to go, exactly what to do. They formed into attack patterns I had never seen, never imagined, flowing around our ships like water around stones. "Evasive maneuvers," I screamed. "All ships scatter formation." Too late. The first wave hit our shields. Not with weapons, with something worse. Electromagnetic pulse bursts, each one calibrated to a specific frequency. Our shields flickered, and I watched in horror as the Talon's Reach, my sister ship to port, went dark. They mapped our shield harmonics. Morn's voice cracked. During the warning shot, they analyzed our output and created countermeasures. The second wave came in before we could adapt. These drones carried kinetic penetrators, tiny things, barely larger than my fist, but they hit with surgical precision, targeting weapon ports, engine manifolds, sensor arrays. Every shot counted. Every shot connected. "Return fire," I ordered, gripping my throne's arm rests hard enough to hurt. Sweep patterns, saturation bombardment. We fired everything. Point defense cannons, flak bursts, plasma nets. We destroyed hundreds of drones, but for every 10 we killed, one got through, and one was all they needed. The Defiance itself hadn't moved. Torres sat there watching, directing her swarm like a conductor leading an orchestra. The other 11 human ships, they'd surrounded us completely, each one releasing its own hidden payload. "Sir, the colony ships are moving through the blockade," Foal reported. "They're using our own formation as cover." Clever. Ruthlessly clever. The humans weren't trying to destroy us. They were neutralizing us, keeping us busy while their civilians slipped past, and we were powerless to stop it. Another explosion rocked the Crimson Talon. Starboard engine down. Sensors operating at 30%. Half my weapons offline. Torres opened the channel again. She wasn't smiling anymore. "Admiral," she said quietly. "The final protocol isn't about superior firepower. It's about using what we have better than you use what you have. It's about adaptation, improvisation. It's about being so unpredictable that your fancy war computers can't calculate our next move. This is barbaric," I sputtered. "Uncivilized warfare." "No," Torres corrected. "This is human warfare. We've been fighting each other for 10,000 years, Admiral. Every dirty trick, every desperate gambit, every last-ditch strategy. We wrote the book on conflict because we had no choice. And now," she leaned forward, "now we're just applying our lessons to a galactic scale." The new alarm blared. The Talon's Reach was venting atmosphere. The Void Breaker had lost main power. Across the tactical display, I watched my fleet systematically dismantled by ships that shouldn't have stood a chance. "Recall all vessels," I said, the words tasting like ash. "Fall back to Rally Point Sigma." "Sir?" Fall looked at me like I'd grown a second head. "We've lost, Lieutenant. Retreat while we still can." The Krynn Dominion 4th Fleet, pride of the Empire, limped away from 12 human rust buckets and a swarm of drones built from salvaged parts and pure spite. As we withdrew, I watched the colony ships pass through the blockade, safe and untouched. Torres's face remained on my screen, and finally that small smile returned. "Admiral Vex'Kara," she said, "tell your Dominion Council something for me. Tell them that humanity didn't reach the stars by building the best ships. We reached them by refusing to quit, by turning our weaknesses into weapons, by being too stubborn to know when we're beaten." "Your people are insane," I muttered. "Maybe," Torres agreed. "But we're insane with really good engineering degrees. Safe travels, Admiral. Try not to underestimate the next human fleet you meet. They might not be as polite as we were." The channel closed. I sat in my damaged command throne watching the human fleet reform around their colony ships, escorting them deeper into what we'd claimed was Dominion space. My crew was silent, shocked, terrified, and somewhere, deep in my gut underneath the humiliation and anger, I felt something I hadn't experienced in 300 cycles of service. Respect. The humans had been mocked, dismissed, written off as a minor irritation, and with 12 ships held together by welding patches and prayer, they'd just rewritten the rules of engagement. "Lieutenant Foll," I said quietly. "Yes, sir? When we get back to command, we're going to recommend a complete tactical review of human capabilities. Everything we think we know about them, we're wrong." "Understood, sir." I watched the human fleet disappear into the distance, their patchwork hulls gleaming in the starlight, and I thought about Captain Elena Torres and her final protocol. The galaxy had just learned a very important lesson. Never ever mock a species that turned their own planet into a death world and survived, because they'll take your mockery, weaponize it, and shove it right back down your throat. With precision, with style. This end of a smile.